Hey, what is up everybody? This is Seth Kniep and It Real. So excited to be here. Today, I'm gonna be teaching you about UPC codes, GTINs, barcodes, GCIDs, EANs, PZNs, ISBNs, all of these crazy barcodes. I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know. Now, if you're selling on Amazon, on eBay, on Walmart, and Jet, all of this applies to you. Even if you need to understand this for your brick and mortar store, it also applies to you. I'm gonna teach you the freaking full tutorial so you can grasp it with confidence and move forward and build margin so that you have freedom to do the things you love with the people you love. The first question most people ask is, what is a product barcode? It is simply a code that identifies a product that is scannable or readable by a computer. Simple as that. It's kind of like an IP address to a computer, or a social security card to a human, or an EIN to an LLC. It identifies your product. I mean, imagine you're walking into Walmart. Your job is to sort all of their products and keep track of inventory. And every product has to have a full-on detailed description to identify it. It's massively overwhelming.
How many do you think there are?
10. But having a simple digital code that you can scan in with RFID or with a laser makes it so much easier. Now you might be saying, well, Seth, what does this have to do with Amazon? Because we're not exactly scanning. Well, actually, every single product has to be scanned into Amazon's fulfillment center, but it's not a UPC like you thought, and I'm about to explain that to you. So the next question is, well, why do I need a barcode? Why does my product need it? Well, ultimately, the barcode identifies your product. So online platforms like Amazon, like eBay, like Jet, like Walmart.com, they require you to have a product identifier. And the barcode uniquely identifies your product and it attaches it to your brand name. If this is your product, not only does it get its own unique code that identifies this product, but there's another part of the code that attaches it to the brand name or the owner or the manufacturer, that would be your business, to the product. Your product needs a barcode as well if for some reason someday you have the opportunity, as many of our students have, to get your product on TV, on QVC, in Target, and Walmart, and Kroger's. We actually have a guy on our team who helps people do this. Now, when you're on Amazon specifically, you're gonna see a page just like this. And this page has product identifiers. Every single one of these boxes is an identifier. But if you look at the top left corner, you see product ID. That is where your barcode goes. Not the bar part of it, I'll explain that in a minute, but the actual numbers, whether it's an EAN or UPC or an ISBN, that's what you're gonna type in that section. Amazon has something to say about this. We verify the authenticity of your product UPCs by checking what is called the GS1 database. UPCs that do not match the information provided by GS1 will be considered invalid. We recommend obtaining your UPCs directly from GS1 and not from other third parties selling UPC licenses. Now the big question is then, how are people able to go to Easy Barcodes or nationwidebarcodes.com, buy barcodes there, use them on Amazon, and it works, and they cost way less, and they don't charge you an annual rental fee? There's a reason for this, which I will explain. But I want you to notice the next thing, which I find fascinating. Important, they add. All invalid product UPC listings will be removed. Now, I just scratched my head when they say this because you can't actually enter in the code. It has to accept the code before it even becomes a listing. So Amazon doesn't have a way of knowing it's invalid because they won't accept it if it's invalid. So I really think this is more of a scare tactic, but the day could come if you use a recycled barcode and it works. Instead of just moving your listing to a different category, like happened to poor Bobby McGee, what happens instead is Amazon removes your listing completely. All Amazon sellers need a product barcode. First of all, as a private label seller, we like to call them brand builders because we focus on helping people to build brands that become huge. You need a code for that product because you're creating your own listing, so you need a code to identify that listing. If you were an arbitrage seller, you're reselling current branded products. The code is already in Amazon's catalog. You're just adding your offering on the listing that already exists. You're piggybacking on the listing, you're not creating it, so you don't have to go get it. If you're a wholesale distributor, you need the product code from the wholesaler. Same thing from a drop shipper. You need to ask them, well, what is the product code so I can put it in when I create the listing on Amazon, assuming you're creating your own listing. How many different barcodes are there? Did you really have to ask that? Code 128. EAN128, EAN13, QR code, data matrix, GS1 data matrix, EAN8, PDF417, ISBN 13, ISSN, ISMN, EAN14, DUN14, SCC14, ITF14, SSCC18, UPCA, UPCE, code 39, code 39 extended, code 25, JAN, EAN5, EAN2, EAN99, EAN velocity, ISBN 13, dual, ISBN 10, CODABAR, code 93 extended, PZN7, PZN8, light code, ident code, code 128A, code 128B, code 128C, MSI, Plessy, Postnet, Royal Mail. Now, here's the good news. Today, I'm just gonna walk you through the barcodes that you need to know. I just thought you would enjoy knowing that there's a lot of codes out there. How do barcodes work? I love this part. Check this out, it's fascinating. First of all, you got these bars, they're vertical bars. And you need to understand that these were invented in the pre-internet days. That's the reason we call it a barcode. Because before the internet existed, typically it would be a bunch of bars, and when the scanner scans that, those barcodes, those vertical bars, the distance of them from each other and how thick they are, that's information. So when you scan it, it tells your POS system, your point of sale system, where all your inventory is, who it belongs to, what kind of product it is. Like a lot of details go into that. But you also have the numbers on the bottom so that when that cash clerk is there scanning it, if the scanner didn't work, they would type it in, all 12 or 13 or 14 digits, manually into the system. You've probably seen this happen when you're grocery shopping and they type in the number manually for you. However, today things have changed. We're no longer selling all products in brick and mortar stores. Many of them are now online. First, here's what the numbers mean. The first number, and usually it is a 0, it's telling you what kind of code this is. Now, this code here is a UPC. A UPC is a kind of code, just like an EAN or an ISBN. I'm using a UPC as an example. So the 0 simply tells you what kind of code it is. So if it's a 2, it means a weight item like meat. If it's a 5 or a 9, it means it's a coupon type code. The next part is the 5 digits 36000. It's your manufacturer number or your brand number. It's a code unique to your brand, to your company. So it identifies you. In fact, when you combine the 0 and the 36000 into one group, you call this your prefix or your company prefix. It's sort of like a brand identifier for your company. No one else gets that number. It's special, which means you're special. The next 5 in the third group is the item number. And what this does is uniquely identifies the item that you are selling. So for example, let's just say you have a coffee mug. You could say that digits 2 through 6 on the mug are your company brand, and then digits 7 through 11 identify the product type. Next question, where do barcodes come from? Now, this is fascinating. Everything will make so much better sense if you understand where they started.
The year is 1948. Bernard Silver, recent graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Drexel, is hungry for opportunity. One day, he overheard a conversation that would change the course of his life. I don't think you get it.
No, I don't.
Look, I'm telling you, as president of the grocery store line, we're gonna lose hundreds of customers when it takes an eternity to check out all these products. It's so slow.
What do you suggest?
I suggest you find a solution. Find a way to automatically scan every single product.
I don't think that could be done.
You are the dean of electrical engineering at Drexel.
I think I can help. I think I can help. In fact, I was thinking, and I am sure of it.
Who are you?
Don't pay attention to him. He's just a former student.
Bernard Silver. Dean? Anyways, I am a electrical engineering student here at the university, and I've been thinking, and I am convinced that I have a solution for your problem.
How?
With ink.
With ink?
Yes. So imagine if you were to create a pattern of ink and you were to shine an ultraviolet light onto that ink. With that, I'm convinced that you could scan every single product easily.
I'll tell you what. I want you to call this number.
Oh, right. Thank you. Right away, sir.
Silver, you got 30 days. erupting with excitement, but realizing there was no way on planet Earth he could pull this off in just 30 days, Silver contacted his 27-year-old friend, Norman Joseph Woodland.
Tell
me more.
Yeah, so the main problem is the employee has to catalog those chips.
Woodland had also graduated from Drexel, but with a BS in mechanical engineering.
So, you will help me?
So we'll have 30 days. I'd have to quit my teaching job. I'd also have to sell all of my stocks so I could have enough money for food. Oh, and my grandfather has an apartment in Florida that I could move into.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Silver and Woodland began, hour after hour after hour after hour. Every solution presented a new problem until they wiped the slate clean and started again, repeatedly. Silver and Woodland scoured the earth for every possible solution. But one night, just as they thought they had the answer, they realized a fatal problem. The cost for printing these ink patterns on every single grocery store product would thrust the grocery store into utter bankruptcy.
All of the numbers speak for themselves. Now, we did some calculation, we did some theory crafting, and
Oh, but you guys never considered this. What about this data that indicates the return on the profit? Is there a reason you guys didn't include that?
well, that's what I was hoping to talk to you about today.
Silver, I came to you for a solution. This is not gonna work.
No. It will. Like, look, we just need more time. If I can go back to the drawing board.
I'm sorry, son, but I wish you good luck.
Fine. With or without you, I'm gonna find a way.
And they did. One day at the beach, Woodland recalled his Boy Scout training, how Morse code dots and dashes were used to send information electronically. Woodland had just figured out the first product barcode. On October 7, 1952, the United States Patent Office granted the first official patent for a barcode to Bernard and Silver. 22 years later, in an Ohio supermarket, the first product in history was scanned, a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit chewing gum.
How many barcodes do I actually need for my product? You just need one unique code per product variation. For example, let us pretend that you are selling this peach candle. If you are going to sell 1,000 of these, you only need one barcode for all of them. But if you also come out with a yellow or a banana flavored, banana smelling candle, you're gonna need a second code. Let me give you another example. Let us pretend that you are selling fedora hats. You have all these fedora hats, but each hat comes in 4 different colors and 4 different sizes. That means you need 16 different barcodes, 1 per variation. But if you're selling 1,000 just of this color, you only need 1 barcode. You don't need a new one for each additional of the same variation. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what if the variations on my listing are quantity variations? So for example, an Amazon shopper navigates to your toothpicks listing, because I'm sure you sell toothpicks, and you have a 50 pack, you have a 500 pack, and you have a 5,000 pack. Each pack needs its own barcode because each one is its own contained pack. The same is true if you are doing a bundle. The next question many people ask, well, what codes do I actually need for my Amazon business? Now, I'm so glad you asked because there are two main kinds of codes. First of all, you have what are called universal product codes. Now, do not confuse this with a UPC. By universal, I mean ones that can be used in most places in the world that are not specific to an organization such as eBay or Walmart or Jet or Amazon. Second, you have codes that are unique to a specific organization. So this would be codes that are unique to a company like Amazon. So a universal product codes, the most important ones you need to know is the UPC, the EAN, the IAN, the ISBN, the PZN, and of course, last but not least, the GTIN, which is the main one, which I will explain. For Amazon, the main codes you need to understand are the ASIN, ASIN, the FNSKU, and the GCID. I don't know, it sounds like kind of official. What's up, you part of the GCID? Now the question happens, well, which one do I pick? When you go to create your Amazon listing and you click that drop down, you're gonna notice all of these options right here. So how do I know which one I'm supposed to pick for my product? Well, first of all, let me help you understand the main universal product codes. First of all, you have the GTIN. It stands for Global Trade Item Number. It is a generic term for all major barcode types, and it is recognized almost anywhere in the world. So a lot of people, they'll call barcodes UPCs. It's actually incorrect. UPCs are just for selling in the US, just for selling in Canada. GTIN is the generic term for all the different barcodes. That's like the mother of them all, okay? Then you have the UPC, which stands for Universal Product Code. These are uniquely called UPC, specifically, again, for the US and for Canada. Now, most UPC codes are called UPC-12 or UPC-A. It's the same thing. It's a kind of UPC, it's the most common, and it has 12 digits. There's another one called UPC-E, letter E as in Edward, which only has 8 digits, and that's if you have a smaller product with less room to print, so you need a smaller code, a shorter code in order to get it onto the product, but those are not as common. The next one is the European Article Number, also known as the EAN. Now, most people think, well, this is only if you're selling in Europe. Not true. If you're selling in Mexico, if you're selling in Honduras, if you're selling in Cuba or any of these other places in South America, you're gonna use an EAN, as well as all the countries in Europe. It's basically used for all countries except the United States and Canada. I don't know, maybe Canadians and Americans like to be unique or something. The most common EAN code is called the EAN-13. So if someone says, hey, you got an EAN? They usually mean the 13-digit code. So most UPCs have 12 digits, most EANs have 13 digits. The EAN-8, however, is kind of like the UPC-E I was mentioning. It only has 8 digits, and that is for packages with less room. So first you got your GTIN up top, that's your main, the Global Trade Item Number. A UPC is a kind, and an EAN is a kind. These are the 3 most important universal product codes you need to understand. If you know these, you're gonna know 98% of everything you need to know when it comes to universal product codes. Now, when you create your Amazon listing, if you purchased a UPC code, you can select GTIN in the menu on the right side. You can select that, and then you can drop in your GTIN. Just understand a GTIN is typically a longer number. Usually it's 14 digits. If you want the UPC version of it, typically in most cases, you just remove the first 2 digits, which are almost always 2 zeros. Now you have 12 digits, and that's your UPC. Similar with an EAN. Again, if you purchased an EAN, you can select a GTIN or an EAN, just like the UPC. Just make sure you select the right one, you put in the right number for it. Now, what if Amazon or the seller platform won't accept my code, and you know you got it from a legitimate source like GS1, which I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that, by the way. Well, if you already have a 14-digit EAN, there are actually some 14-digit ones out there, but the platform requires 12 or 13 digits for an EAN, just remove the first or 2 numbers or digits from the code. Look at it this way, don't overthink it, don't stress about it. The first few numbers usually don't matter as much. So if you need to add a 0 or remove a 0, give a 0, take a 0, give a couple zeros, take a couple zeros, you can make it work. Now what about Amazon specific codes? Now this is really interesting. You've probably heard of an ASIN. It is an Amazon Standard Identification Number. And the number is auto-assigned to your listing, and it is not something that you can change or edit. It is the easiest way to identify any listing on Amazon. If you know the ASIN, you can find the product. In fact, you even have that on PPC. You have people running ads on your ASIN sometimes. You can even search for a product by typing in the ASIN on the search bar on Amazon, as you can see right here. For books, the ASIN is the ISBN number. So instead of putting in the ASIN, you're gonna put in the ISBN, which is sort of like the UPC version for a book. They get the ISBN because, you know, books are special. It's also, the ASIN is in the URL of your Amazon listing right after where it says DP and then a slash, and it almost always is gonna start with B0. You know you've gone too far if you get to $REF, which means reference, which is data on how they searched a keyword to get there. But the ASIN is always in the URL after DP. Now let's talk about the GCID. You're also gonna see this when you create a new listing, and you're probably gonna go, what in the world is this global catalog identifier? Well, I'll explain to you exactly what it is. When you enroll your products in Amazon's brand registry, you may use a UPC code, or you can choose to use a GCID code instead if you want. Amazon will provide the GCID code for you. You don't have to go buy it from GS1. And the way you do this is you're gonna fill out all the key attributes, the unique key attributes for your Amazon listing, even the SKU, which is just your own personal number to keep track of your product. It's not official anywhere. And Amazon will assign each of your brand registered products its own GCID. So for example, every single one of these boxes is a product identifier. And the only one you won't fill is where it says product ID. And notice how on the right side I have selected GCID. If you fill in all the other ones and you are brand registered, Amazon will populate the product ID for you, which means you don't have to buy the UPC. So step number one, you select GCID in the drop-down menu. Step number two, you enter all the unique product identifiers except for the product ID. And step number three, Amazon, ta-da, they give you your own GCID automatically. If you enter a UPC code in the product identifier field, then Amazon will not give you a GCID number, so keep that in mind. The last and not least, very important code you need to understand when you're sending products to Amazon's fulfillment center is the FNSKU. I can see you, like tonight, you're sleeping and you're like swimming in these numbers. And you can always go back, and below, guys, we have these timestamps, so it's really easy for you to navigate to the one you need to learn about, okay? This is so important. It stands for Fulfillment Networker, oh my word, Fulfillment Network Stop Keeping Unit. Amazon gives you an FNSKU. I don't even know how to say that fast. FNSKU. You can't say it fast. For each product variation, when you ship those products to Amazon's fulfillment center. For example, if you're selling Green Pirate coffee mugs, every single Green Pirate coffee mug needs an FNSKU on the product. Because when Amazon receives it, how do they know it's yours? They're not like, hey, that's a cool coffee mug. Out of the millions of sellers, I bet that's Seth's. Yeah, it's probably Seth. Okay, we'll credit him. Like they have to have a code. You're like, well, wait a minute, Seth. I thought I was supposed to put the UPC or the EAN or the GTIN on the product code. Nope. You're not supposed to, and you shouldn't be. Are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. I'll explain that to you in a second. So you have three options to get these codes on your product. Option number one, you're gonna pay Amazon 20 pennies a piece, 20 pennies a piece to label these for you, which means it will delay getting it into the fulfillment center. It'll give you the option when you set up your shipping plan. Step number two, you can print the labels at home if you enjoy printing labels and touching sticky things, and label every single product yourself. And step number three, you can have your supplier print it onto the retail packaging, which is excelente, and that's exactly what you should be doing, and I'll tell you why. Where can I find these FNSKU codes? That word is so inconvenient to say. Come on, Amazon, can you come up with something easier? When you print your shipping label, Amazon will generate the code for you, and you can print it onto a PDF. You can choose if you're the merchant, by the way, see where it says the merchant option on the dropdown, or Amazon is going to affix the labels. When you print your shipping label, Amazon's gonna generate the code, and you can save it as a PDF when you just go to the print item labels. You can also go to your manage inventory page and print them from the edit drop-down menu, which you're gonna see on the right side of every listing. Now, if print item label is not available, that simply means that your product listing is set up as FBM, fulfilled by merchant, which means you are shipping your own products when Bobby McGee and Lucy Pickleberry and all those other amazing people buy your product. instead of Amazon shipping it for you. The only reason you need an FNSKU is if Amazon's fulfilling it, because it goes in their fulfillment center. They have to know how to categorize the product, so when someone buys it, you get the cash for the sale. So you can easily switch it to FBA by selecting Change to Fulfilled by Amazon. Then the print item label option suddenly appears. Like magic. Now, here's what a sheet of FNSKU labels look like. It's the most interesting thing you've ever seen. In fact, I just want to show you an example of one. I brought this along. Check this out. This is awesome. So here, my friends, is an example of an FNSKU code right there. It looks like a UPC, but it's not. But Amazon systems can scan that in. See, it's not a sticker. I keep trying to scratch it, but nothing's coming off. It's printed into the retail packaging. That is an FNSKU code. Here's an example of a UPC code. Now, I know some products you buy from Amazon. I know that some of them come with a UPC. It is possible to put a UPC on at Amazon registers, but they tell you not to, and the day may come where it doesn't work anymore. So why not do what they ask? It's just smart. Very likely this Shambong is being sold in a retail store, and that's why they have this on here, because they already printed the UPC on there and they made it work with Amazon. What codes physically go onto my product? The FNSKU code is printed onto your product's retail packaging or a sticker that goes into your packaging. You can actually get stickers like a mule sticker, get the stickers, and you literally take the sticker and you just put it on the product, okay? So this is your retail packaging. This isn't the physical product. If you wanna see the physical product, that's why they call it a trial pack. So look, it would look pretty cheesy and pretty bad if I had an FNSKU label on this. Additionally, it'd be kind of nuts because think about it. So I'm Amazon, right? And this is what you send me. If you send me this, are you actually saying, if I'm Amazon, you send me this, are you saying I have to go through the trial of getting everything out to scan it? No, you're gonna put it on the retail packaging. Keep it simple. So if your product, however, does not come with retail packaging, okay, here's an example. Usually hats, if they do, it's just a band. Sometimes they don't. It's just this, a hat, okay? I mean, come on, it doesn't need retail packaging. It's kind of a cool packaging itself, you know what I mean? So if it doesn't, then in that case, it would go somewhere like right there on the tag. So in that case, it will go on the product itself, but in most situations, it's gonna go on the retail packaging. Question, does the UPC or the EAN need to be printed onto my product? No, it does not, as I mentioned before, unless it's going into a physical retail store. However, if you're selling at Walmart or Home Depot or Kroger's or other cool places, then yes, you will need it printed on there and you can work that out with your manufacturer. This allows the store to enter the product into their inventory system so they can track your inventory levels. The point of sale system is at the retail store records the purchase of your product at checkout. And this creates a seamless experience for the customer so they can just scan it and they move on with their day. What about the other non-Amazon codes, Seth? Like, I know there's more out there and you gave me this massive list of them, but what about the other ones? I'm gonna just tell you just a couple, the most important, because you will see these in the drop-down menu option when you create a new Amazon listing. Number one, your ISBN. It stands for International Standard Book Number, and as I mentioned, it replaces the UPC code. It's sort of like the ISBN is the GTIN for all the books. It uses 13 digits and is a special form of the EAN13 code. Number two, you have JAN. She's cool, by the way. JAN stands for Japanese Article Number. JAN is another name for the EAN13 barcode, but is specifically for Japan. Next, you have PZN. Even sounds German. It stands for Pharmazentralnummer. PZN is a code for a medicine identification in Germany. And finally, last but not least, you have what is called IAN, International Article Number, which is just a different term for an EAN. Is your mind swimming yet? I should just remember, the GTIN, UPC, EAN, those are the three most important for non-Amazon codes, universal. If you got those, you're good. What are the most important for Amazon? Your ASIN, which identifies the product on Amazon. Your FNSKU, so you can identify it when it goes to Amazon's fulfillment center. That's only for FBA, not FBM. And then your GCID, which stands for brand registry, if you want to use a brand registry code instead of a UPC or EAN, which are both called GTIN. How you doing? How do I get my barcode for my product? I'm gonna invite you right now to jump into the screen with me, and we're gonna go on a little journey called GS1. The first step you're gonna take is you're gonna go to gs1.org, and you're gonna click this big orange button right here called Get Your Barcodes. From here, you're gonna click on Get a Barcode from GS1 US. And remember, a barcode for the United States or Canada is gonna be a UPC, and for all other countries, it's going to be an EAN, which stands for European Article Number. But you're getting a UPC, a Universal Product Code, if your product's being sold in the US or Canada. You have three options here. This is only what you would take if you already got your prefix, your company prefix. That's a special code. Typically, it's 6 digits that identifies your brand that owns the product. Assuming you don't have that, this is where you're going to start. So you're going to click on this one. It's going to take you to a page to first estimate, well, how many barcodes do I need? Now, this is really simple. You just do what's called access the barcode estimator. And let's say you're planning on launching 2 products in the next month. What I would do is guesstimate out how many products, and that includes variations. So if you have like a red pirate coffee mug and a green pirate coffee mug, you need a separate barcode for each of those. So assuming you're gonna do 2 this month, I would ask yourself this question: well, how many do I plan in the next year? Let's just assume it's under 10. Most Amazon sellers, when they're starting out, they're not gonna launch more than 10 products in a year. They may even only do 2 or 3, and that alone can make you a ton of money. So if I type, let's just say 9, for example, and then the next question is input the number of products you plan to barcode in the next few years. In fact, just for fun, let me do this first. So let's say right now we want to launch 2, but over here I plan on doing 7 more. I hit calculate, and you're going to see it's going to give me the prefix capacity of 1 to 10. In other words, when I get this prefix, it will allow me to launch 1 to 10 products. Now, if you're a larger company or you plan on growing a lot faster, and let's say you're going to launch 2 products right now, but over the next 2 to 3 years, you plan on launching 20 products, just for fun, let's say 18. I hit calculate, and boom, now you can see the initial fee is $715 for all 18 of these products. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep this down to 7. I'm gonna hit calculate, and I'm gonna assume I need, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and go all the way to 10. So we're gonna stay within that first tier. So there we go, I need 10 barcodes. Let me close this, and let's come down here for pricing. Now notice that to get 1 to 10 barcodes that you need, it costs you $250. To get 1 to 100, it costs you $750. There is an annual renewal fee, and this fee right here allows you to continue to use that code each year. Otherwise, your prefix could be assigned to a different brand. I know for some of you guys watching this, you might think, hey Seth, this is a lot of money. This is another expense. May I remind you that if you're building your business right, this is a tiny investment. And notice also that the annual renewal fee is always 20% of the initial fee. If you were to take 0.2 times 750, it's 150. If you do 0.2 times 2500, it's 500. The only exception is this company prefix down here, but that's another story. We don't need to worry about that. The next part is to fill out your application. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what do I need a W-9 form for? All that means is if you are paying this company more than $600 per year, then you need to fill out this form for your own records. This is not a form you send to the IRS. You're basically saying, give me your company identity information and whether or not you have what's called backup withholding. Again, the W-9 is just for your records so that when you fill out the 1099 miscellaneous, you have the information like their name, their address, their EIN to fill it out correctly. To complete the application, you need to have your legal company name. If you have not set up a company, that means you're automatically by default a sole proprietorship. What they mean by DBA is doing business as. It's also known as a trade name, also known as a fictitious business name. Let's just say, for example, your company name is Kniep Industries. If your company name is Kniep Industries, then your trade name or your DBA or your fictitious business name, those are all different terms for the same thing. Let's say Red Swan. So what you are to the customer, the brand name you're promoting to the customer, that is your DBA. Executive contact information, this simply means who's the owner. Assuming you're the only owner of the company, that's you. Decide how many individual items you need to identify. If you're unsure, use zip code estimator. I just showed you that. And then of course your payment information, which is typically going to be a debit card or a credit card. We're going to fill out the company prefix application. We are not a GS1 US customer because I'm logging in from incognito right now. So I'm going to skip this step and go straight to the application, because we need to fill it out to become a member. So first thing is I'm just gonna type in my information. And this is simply the name of the person that they would contact if there's any issues at all. Legal company name, let's type it in. And now the email address and the phone number and the address of the company. Now executive contact. Well, if it is you and you're the same person, you can just click that button. Again, it's really hard to mess this part up. You guys don't overthink it. Just put in the information that identifies you or your company. The same graph we saw earlier, what do I need? How many barcodes do I need? I'm assuming that you don't need the FDA certification on your company prefix. So in that case, I'm going to keep it as a no because we're not selling food here. We already did the barcode estimator that tells us how many products we need to identify. So now I'm going to choose my prefix capacity, which is 1 to 10. There we go. Boom, 250. I understand the above cancellation, blah, 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 blah. And I hit next. Now it says, make sure you agree to the license agreement. I already understand it. That's no problem. You understand that they will be charging you once a year for retaining that company prefix. Now we drop in your name, your first name, your last name, and of course your email. Now that you've done this, you're going to submit your credit card information, which is pretty standard, and we will do that quickly. Looks good. All right, let's hit pay now. As soon as the payment processes, you're going to land on this page right here. I'm going to give you a brief explanation so you understand. Capacity is 10. For this company prefix, which you just purchased, you have a capacity to generate 10 UPC barcodes. Notice that these are 10 digits. Now, a classic UPC actually has 12 digits, like down here. And if you notice, 866-000-42510 is the first 10 digits of all of these. The only difference between these is the last 2 digits of each. That distinguishes each one. So when you're looking at a classic UPC barcode, here's how it works. The first digit in a UPC is usually a 0. That means it's just a classic, regular UPC. It tells you what kind of code it is. Now, if you add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these tell you what brand owns the product. And then if you look at these next 5 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is unique to your product ID. And the final one is simply a check digit. When you receive your welcome email from GS1, you're going to notice several links. The most important is the Online Member Center, which is right here. Now, if you were to click on this, My GS1 US, it'll take you straight here. This is sort of like your hub where you can get everything else you need. The second link they're going to talk about is the GS1 US Data Hub. Now, you can get there from the main link just by clicking Access right here, which will take you to it here. The reason why the Data Hub is so important is this is where you can create new GTINs with your company prefix. The third most important link I recommend you have at your fingertips is the GS1 company database. Let's say, for example, you're trying to understand who this company is with Teton Sports. Who are they? What do they do? You can actually use this database, assuming they got their GS1 or their GTIN or UPC or EAN from GS1, and find information on the company, sometimes even their manufacturer. And I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really fascinating. So again, you have your main membership hub from where you can get anything you need. The other 2 links you can get from here, but I also am going to share with you, is dh.gs1us.org or the company database. The URL is too long for me to read. You can just figure it out later. So first, let's go to the Data Hub. Let's create a brand new UPC using what we have as our company prefix. When you click on product, it's going to bring up this page. You can see I already created an ID for a product I want to sell. If I click on this ID, you can see all the information, the name that I put that in, the brand name, what kind of industry it is, etc. Now I'm going to show you how to do this specifically, but first let me take you to the other ones. Location, this is a GLN number. So if I was to go over here, see where it says location, it's the same idea. It's a special code for a sub company that you probably don't even need to worry about unless you're huge. Okay, the next area is company, which they remain unclickable unless you get a higher grade membership and you don't need it. Report is if you want to generate reports on your GLNs, which is the same as your location numbers. And administration is if you want to add sub-user access. Let's say you have a team, you want them to have a certain level of access. You can assign role assignments. You can look at different options. So let's go back to product under the Data Hub. Now let's add a new one. So I'm going to hit add new, and you're going to see it automatically fills some of these, but what about this? So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to type in what it is. And you could type in whatever you want. It's just, let's say it's a brown teddy bear, then type in brown teddy bear.
make it specific enough to identify this particular variation. So if you sell pirate mugs, you need to say green pirate mugs, assuming you sell yellow and red ones. It differentiates it, but don't overdo it. For the brand name, just type in the name of your brand. For product industry, you're going to leave it general unless you have one of these other subcategories. Packaging level, this is if you're going to put multiple products into one package and each of them needs their own code, or you have a mixed pallet, mixed case. In most cases, you're just going to say each because each product gets its own UPC. Assuming that you are selling in English and you speak English, leave that as it is. SKU, this is internal. You can put in whatever code you want. Each product, you can have your own internal code to identify that product. And on Amazon, your Seller Central account, you can also put in the exact SKU you want, which is really nice. Do not select, is this item variable measurable? It's a very weird exception. I'm not going to go into it right now. And then here is, can the item be purchased by the consumer? Well, of course it can be, and you're good there. All of this is good. You are going to select the save button. So now it's been saved. Now you have the option to select auto assign GTIN or from a reserved, assuming you reserved a code or you want to do it manually. You're going to select auto assign. So now that you've auto assigned it, it has given you a UPC code. Notice this is 12 digits. This is 14. Remember I said UPC is a subcategory of your global trade item number. Your universal product code is a subcategory. That is why your global trade item number has 2 zeros in front of it. When you add the listing to Amazon, you are going to leave off the 2 front zeros, select the UPC in the drop down for product ID as UPC. If you put it in as a GTIN, then you need to include the 2 zeros at the front. Now, the reason they give you pre-market status allows you to preview your barcode before you finalize it and select the in-use option. Your company prefix, notice it says 8 out of 10. It's simply saying that you have 8 out of 10 left. You get a total of 10. Now you have 8 out of 10 left because this is the second one. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit save. Okay, now that it has been saved, I have the option to look at my barcode. Now, before we go there, let me show you what these other tabs mean. And by the way, notice this entire listing, or I'm speaking Amazon terms, this entire code, this whole page is devoted to this one product with your GTIN number. Also your UPC number, which would be these numbers minus the 2 zeros up front. There's your UPC. If you add on those 2 zeros, it's your GTIN. Additional information, you don't need this unless you're going to be selling in a brick and mortar store or you have trade partners, distributors who are going to use an API to access this data to put it into their system for the point of sale system. So I'm assuming you don't need this for now. Hierarchy is based on if you have subcategory products. History is just the history of what you've done with this product. And then of course you have your barcode. Remember back here under product detail, we did pre-market, watch. When I come back here to barcode, I have the option to preview the barcode. I want to make sure it's good. So here it is. And at classic barcode, this would be your company identifier. Then I have this to identify the product, and then I have my check digit. If you're good with it, and you can, by the way, you can download it as well. And then you can come over here, you can open it up. Boom, there it is, see that? Now that I know it's good and I like it, I come back to product detail, I come down here, I select this and I say in use and I hit save. Now watch what happens. So it's saying you're updating the item to use. Hit continue. Now I'm gonna come back over here to barcode and this time, instead of it saying FPU on it, check this out, it is the actual barcode. Boom. There is my barcode and it's done. Now, how do I get back here again? Let me show you. If I come up here to home, this is the main page for your data hub. If I click on product, now I can see both of my barcodes. And if I click in on any of them, I just click on it like this, boom, and there it is. And I have all the information I need. Let me show you how to use the company database. This is super cool. Let's say this is one of your competitors, Teton Sports. I'm sure Teton loves me talking about them as an example. They actually have a really cool homepage for their Amazon store. Let's say I find one of their products. Here it is. And I'm going to come up here and grab their ASIN. So I copy that ASIN. I come back over here. Over here to Amazon, and I'm going to add it as if I was going to sell the item. I'm not, but let's just say I was. So now I can see their UPC. Look at this. So I double click it, I copy paste it, I come back here to the company database. Watch this, you guys. I click on GTIN, and I'm gonna drop their GTIN here, and I'm gonna hit search, and boom. Now I know where they're located. Look at this. They're in Cedar Hills, Utah. Sometimes you'll get even a lot more information than this. Now, of course, keep in mind, not all companies are going to use GS1. Some do, some don't. It's perfectly fine. Most do now because Amazon has made them the official standard. Guys, I hope that's extremely helpful to you as you figure out how to manage your GS1 account for your online business.
If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe below. Also, I would love to get your thoughts. Where are you getting your barcodes from? Comment below and tell me what your source is. Oh, and one more thing. If you click the link below in the description, you will see a link where you can get 90 minutes of free training on how to build an Amazon business, straight up from people who do it every day. All right, you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you next time.